I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep. Haven't been able to for weeks now. My hands are shaking as I type this, but I need to get it out. Maybe someone will read this and learn from my mistakes before they destroy everything like I did. It started 6 months before my wedding to Sarah. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. She was everything I thought I wanted: kind, loyal, supported my dreams, loved my family. My mom adored her. My sister called her the sister she never had. My dad, who barely talked to anyone, would light up when Sarah walked in the room. But I was restless. That's not an excuse, just the truth. Sarah was stable, predictable. She'd wake up at 6 a.m. every day, make coffee the same way, kiss me goodbye at the same spot by the door. Our conversations followed the same patterns. Our Friday nights were always the same restaurant. I started feeling trapped, like I was suffocating in routine. Then I met Jessica at a work conference. She was everything Sarah wasn't: spontaneous, mysterious, exciting. She laughed at different things, challenged me, made me feel alive in ways I'd forgotten existed. What started as coffee meetings turned into lunch. Lunch turned into staying late at the office together. I told myself we were just friends. I was lying to myself from day one. The first time I crossed the line, it was 3 months before the wedding. Sarah was visiting her parents for the weekend, and Jessica texted asking if I wanted to grab drinks. Just drinks, I told myself. Just 2 colleagues unwinding after a stressful week. We ended up at this little bar across town where nobody would know us. She wore this blue dress that made her eyes look like the ocean. We talked for hours about dreams, fears, all the deep stuff Sarah and I had stopped discussing years ago. When Jessica leaned in close to whisper something funny about our boss, I could smell her perfume. Something floral and intoxicating. When she put her hand on my arm and looked at me with those ocean eyes, I didn't pull away. "You're getting married soon," she whispered. "I am," I whispered back. "Are you happy?" That question hit me like a truck. Was I happy? Sarah made me comfortable, secure, loved. But happy? When was the last time my heart raced around her? When was the last time I felt that electric anticipation of seeing her? I don't know, I admitted. That's when Jessica kissed me, and I kissed her back. I drove home that night hating myself. Sarah was already asleep, curled up on her side of the bed wearing one of my old college t-shirts. She looked so peaceful, so trusting. I stood in the doorway for 10 minutes just watching her breathe, knowing I'd just shattered something precious and she had no idea. I should have ended it there. Should have confessed, called off the wedding, dealt with the consequences like a man. Instead, I convinced myself it was just a moment of weakness. A one-time mistake that meant nothing. But Jessica texted the next day. Then the next. And the day after that. The second time we met, we didn't even pretend it was innocent. We went straight to her apartment. I remember staring at my engagement ring on her nightstand afterward, the diamond catching the afternoon light. Sarah had cried when I proposed. Happy tears, she'd said. She'd been planning our wedding since she was 8 years old. "You feel guilty," Jessica said, running her fingers through my hair. "Wouldn't you? She doesn't understand you like I do." Those words became my drug. Jessica understood my restlessness, my need for adventure, my fear of becoming another suburban dad counting down days until retirement. Sarah loved the version of me I'd been in college. Jessica loved who I was becoming. At least, that's what I told myself during those stolen afternoons in her apartment while Sarah was at work, planning our future. The wedding was 8 weeks away when my mom called asking about final head counts. "How many people did you say Jessica from your office was bringing as her +1? Mom asked. My blood turned to ice. "What? Jessica Morrison? She RSVP last week. Said you invited her and she's bringing her boyfriend." "Sweet girl, I met her at your office holiday party last year. Sarah mentioned you two work closely together on projects. I've never invited Jessica to my wedding. Sarah must have seen her name somewhere and added her to be nice." That was so Sarah, inclusive, thoughtful, always trying to make everyone feel welcome. "Mom, I need to call you back." I hung up and immediately called Jessica. "Why did you RSVP to my wedding?" I demanded. "Relax. Your fiancé invited me personally. She came by the office yesterday while you were in that client meeting. We had coffee, talked about you, about how excited she is to marry you. She's really sweet." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing. But she did mention how stressed you've been lately, how distant. She asked if I knew what was bothering you at work. She's worried about you." That night, Sarah made my favorite dinner, spaghetti carbonara with garlic bread. She'd stopped at 3 different stores to find a good Parmesan, the kind from the deli counter that costs twice as much. I met Jessica today, she said casually while twirling pasta on her fork. She seems lovely. You never mentioned how pretty she is. Didn't notice, I lied. She really admires you. Says you're the most talented person in the office. I can see why you enjoy working with her. Every word was a knife. Sarah wasn't suspicious. She was proud. Proud that other people recognized what she'd always seen in me. She was bragging about me to the woman I'd been betraying her with for months. She mentioned you two stay late a lot working on projects. I told her she better not work my husband too hard after we're married. Sarah laughed, completely oblivious to the double meaning. I excused myself to throw up. That night, lying in bed next to Sarah, I made a decision. I would end it with Jessica, come clean to Sarah, deal with the fallout, cancel the wedding if I had to. Anything was better than this poisonous deception eating me alive from the inside. But Jessica had other plans. The next morning, she was waiting by my car in the parking lot before work. She looked different, harder somehow. The playful smile was gone. We need to talk, she said, getting into my passenger seat uninvited. Jessica, this has to stop. I can't do this anymore. Sarah doesn't deserve. Your fiancée is pregnant. The world stopped spinning. What? She told me yesterday. 8 weeks. She hasn't told you yet because she wants to surprise you on your wedding day. She's glowing, by the way. Absolutely radiant. Can't stop talking about how happy you'll be, how you've always wanted to be a father. Sarah was pregnant. With my child. While I'd been sneaking around with Jessica, my future wife was carrying our baby. She also mentioned something interesting, Jessica continued, her voice taking on a sharp edge I'd never heard before. About your family's financial situation. What? Your dad's medical bills from his heart attack last year. Your sister's student loans. The second mortgage your parents took out to help pay for this wedding. Sarah told me how grateful your family is that you found someone so understanding about money. Where was this going? See, I did some research after our coffee date. Your precious Sarah comes from money, doesn't she? Trust fund baby. Her daddy's company contracted with my firm last month. Small world. My stomach started churning again. Here's what's going to happen, Jessica said, her ocean eyes now cold as winter storms. You're going to marry Sarah exactly as planned. You're going to be the perfect husband and father. And you're going to keep seeing me. No, absolutely not. This ends now. Jessica pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was me and her, kissing outside the bar that first night. The timestamp showed 11:47 p.m. 3 months ago. I have dozens more. Video too. Your phone sends automatic location data to your cloud account. Did you know that? I've been tracking our little dates. Very thorough digital trail. The parking lot started spinning. You're going to ruin your pregnant fiancé's life? Devastate your family who invested everything in this wedding? Your parents will lose their house. Your sister will have to drop out of graduate school. All because you couldn't keep it in your pants. You're insane. I'm practical. You want excitement? Adventure? I'll give you both. But you also get to keep your perfect little life. Everyone wins. Sarah will find out eventually. Not if you're smart. And not if you want to protect everyone you claim to love. Jessica got out of the car and leaned down to the window. Oh, and one more thing. I'm pregnant too. She walked away before I could respond, leaving me hyperventilating in my car at 8:30 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, my entire world crashing down around me. 2 women. 2 babies. 1 wedding in 6 weeks. I sat there until the parking lot emptied, until my phone buzzed with worried texts from Sarah asking if I was okay, until security came to check if my car was abandoned. That's when I knew I wasn't just a cheater anymore. I was a monster who'd created a situation with no good endings. The next 6 weeks were pure hell. I became a master of compartmentalization. Morning coffee with Sarah, discussing baby names and nursery colors. Lunch meetings with Jessica, pretending nothing had changed while she dropped hints about our future together. Evening wedding preparations, watching my mom cry happy tears over centerpieces while knowing I was about to destroy everything. Sarah glowed exactly like Jessica had described. She'd catch me staring sometimes and blush, thinking I was admiring her pregnancy glow. I was actually calculating how many lives I was about to ruin. You seem stressed, Sarah said one night, rubbing my shoulders while I pretended to work on my laptop. Is it work? The wedding? You can tell me anything. Anything except the truth. Just want everything perfect for you. I lied. She kissed the top of my head. It already is perfect. I have you. Meanwhile, Jessica was relentless. She texted me photos of positive pregnancy tests, ultrasound appointment reminders, baby name suggestions that made my skin crawl. She played the role of secret girlfriend perfectly, understanding when I couldn't see her, supportive of my complicated situation, patient about our future together. But I saw the calculation behind her ocean eyes. This wasn't love. This was possession. 2 weeks before the wedding, Sarah surprised me at work with lunch. She'd made sandwiches from home, my favorite turkey and Swiss with that fancy mustard I liked. She was practically bouncing with excitement. "I have news," she whispered, even though we were alone in the conference room. "Good news? The best news. I talked to Dr. Martinez this morning. We're having twins." The sandwich turned to cardboard in my mouth. Twins. 2 babies. 2 more lives I'd be responsible for destroying. Twins, I repeated numbly. "Can you believe it? Your mom is going to lose her mind. She's been praying for grandchildren for years, and now she gets 2 at once." Sarah's eyes filled with happy tears. "Are you okay? You look pale. Just overwhelmed. Happy overwhelmed. I know it's scary, but we can handle anything together, right?" "Right." That afternoon, Jessica cornered me in the supply closet like we were teenagers sneaking around. "Heard about the twins," she said casually. "Sarah's been texting everyone the good news. Very exciting. How do you have Sarah's number? We're friends now. Didn't she tell you? We've been planning a surprise for you. She's so thoughtful, wanting to make sure all your work friends feel included in the celebration." The walls felt like they were closing in. "This has to stop, Jessica. I'll figure out how to handle the photos, the evidence, whatever. But I can't keep living this lie." "Can't? Or won't?" She stepped closer. "Because last I checked, you had 2 pregnant women depending on you. 3 babies total. Your family's financial stability. Your reputation. Your career. You're not really pregnant, are you?" Jessica smiled a cold smile. "Does it matter? Sarah believes I am. Your family will believe I am. Your boss will believe I am. The story writes itself. Devoted husband-to-be couldn't resist the thrill of an affair, got his mistress pregnant, destroyed his perfect life for a moment of selfish pleasure. You're sick. I'm honest. You're the one pretending to be something you're not. At least I know what I want and I'm going after it. What do you want? You. The life Sarah has. The family that adores you. The stability. The future. She doesn't appreciate what she has. Takes it all for granted. You don't even know her. I know she's ordinary. Safe. Boring. I know you were dying of boredom until I came along. I know you've never felt more alive than you do with me. The terrible thing was, part of that was true. The guilt was eating me alive, but Jessica was right about the excitement. The danger. The way my heart raced every time I saw her name on my phone. I hated myself for it. 1 week before the wedding, my dad called. "Son, I need to talk to you about something." We met at his favorite diner, the one with the terrible coffee and the waitress who'd been there since 1987. Dad looked older than I remembered. Grayer. The heart attack had aged him in ways I'd been too selfish to notice. "Your mother doesn't know I'm telling you this," he started, stirring sugar into his coffee with shaking hands. "But I need you to know what this wedding means to our family." "Dad, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. The medical bills from last year, they're more than we let on. Insurance covered most of it. But the specialists, the medications, the follow-up treatments. We took out a second mortgage." My chest tightened. "Your sister's student loans, they're crushing her. She's been working 3 jobs just to make minimum payments. Hasn't been home for dinner in months because she's always working. Why didn't anyone tell me?" "Because it's not your burden to carry." But when Sarah's family offered to pay for the wedding, when they insisted on covering everything so we could focus on celebrating, it gave us breathing room we haven't had in years. Dad reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I know marriage is scary, son. I know you're young and probably wondering if you're making the right choice. But Sarah, she's a gift. She loves you, loves our family, wants to take care of all of us. Girls like that don't come along often." "I know, Dad. Do you? Because your mother's noticed you've been distant lately. Distracted. She's worried you're getting cold feet. If only it were that simple." "Sarah's pregnant," I said, needing to tell someone, needing to make it real. Dad's face lit up like Christmas morning. "Pregnant? Son, that's wonderful. When did you find out?" "Few weeks ago." "Twins. Twins." Dad's voice cracked with emotion. "Your mother. She's going to cry for days. Happy tears. We've been hoping for grandchildren since the day you two got engaged." Watching my father's joy was like swallowing broken glass. This man who'd worked double shifts his entire life, who'd sacrificed everything for his family, who was drowning in medical debt but still finding ways to smile. I was about to devastate him. "Dad, what if I told you I'd made some mistakes?" "Big mistakes?" His expression grew serious. "What kind of mistakes?" I almost told him everything. Almost confessed the whole sordid mess right there in the diner booth where he'd taught me to tie my shoes 20 years ago. But then I saw the hope in his eyes. The relief. The way he'd straightened up when I mentioned Sarah's pregnancy. Like maybe things were finally going to be okay for our family. Nothing. Pre-wedding jitters, I guess. That's normal. I threw up twice before I married your mother. Best decision I ever made. 3 days before the wedding, Jessica escalated things. She showed up at my apartment while Sarah was at her bridal shower. Just walked in like she owned the place, wearing a sundress that made her look innocent and predatory at the same time. "Nice place," she said, running her fingers along Sarah's books. "Very. Her. Everything matching, everything in its place. Does she color coordinate her closet too? You can't be here. Sarah's friends might see you. Relax. They're all at the country club getting drunk on champagne and talking about how lucky Sarah is. They have no idea how right they are." Jessica picked up her engagement photos from the mantle. The ones where Sarah and I looked happy, in love, full of hope for the future. "You look miserable in these," she observed. "I look fine. You look like a man pretending to be happy. Like you're playing a role." She set the photo down and moved closer. "With me, you don't have to pretend anything. This isn't real, Jessica. Whatever this is between us, it's not real. Isn't it? When's the last time Sarah made your heart race? When's the last time you couldn't wait to see her? When's the last time she challenged you, excited you, made you feel like the man you're supposed to be?" I couldn't answer because she was right. What I had with Sarah was comfortable, safe, predictable. What I had with Jessica was electric, dangerous, alive. But love isn't just about excitement. Love is showing up every day. Making coffee the same way because that's how she likes it. Holding her hair when she's sick. Choosing her over and over again, even when it's boring. Sarah had been choosing me for 4 years. I'd been choosing Jessica for 4 months. "After the wedding, things will be different," Jessica continued. "Sarah will be busy with the babies. You'll need someone who understands your needs, your desires. Someone who doesn't want to change you into some suburban dad who talks about lawn care and minivans. And if I refuse?" Jessica pulled out her phone and scrolled through photos. Me leaving her apartment. Me kissing her in my car. Me holding her hand at restaurants across town. These photos tell a story. Timestamps don't lie. Your location data doesn't lie. Your credit card receipts at restaurants across town don't lie. Your pregnant wife finds out her husband was cheating during their engagement. She loses the babies from stress. Your family loses their home. Your career is over. Your sister drops out of school. You would really destroy innocent people? I would protect what's mine. And you're mine now, whether you want to admit it or not. The wedding was in 72 hours. That night, Sarah and I had our last dinner as an unmarried couple. She'd made spaghetti carbonara again, the same meal she'd made the night she told me about Jessica RSVPing to our wedding. It felt like a lifetime ago. "Are you excited?" she asked, twirling pasta around her fork. "Excited? For Saturday. For our wedding day. For starting our family." She placed my hand on her barely there bump. "Sometimes I can't believe this is really happening. That I get to marry my best friend and have his babies." Best friend. When was the last time I'd thought of Sarah as my best friend instead of just my fiancé? When had I stopped seeing her as a person and started seeing her as an obligation? "Sarah, do you ever wonder if we're too young for this? If we should wait?" Her face fell slightly. "Do you want to wait? I just want to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons." What reasons would those be? How could I explain that I was marrying her to avoid destroying our families? That I was choosing her not out of love but out of guilt and fear and the impossibility of any other choice? "Because we love each other," I said finally. "We do love each other. Don't we?" The question hung in the air like smoke from a house fire. Of course we do. But sitting there, looking at Sarah's hopeful face in the candlelight, I realized something that made my blood run cold. I didn't know if I loved her anymore, or if I ever really had. And in 72 hours, I was going to promise to love her forever. The wedding day started with rain. Not the romantic, movie scene kind of rain. The cold, bitter, relentless kind that soaks through everything and chills you to the bone. Sarah called it a sign of good luck. Something about rain on your wedding day bringing fertility and cleansing. I called it an oh my. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. at St. Mary's, the same church where Sarah's parents had married, where she'd been baptized, where she dreamed of walking down the aisle since she was 7 years old. The reception was at the country club afterward, 200 guests, open bar. Bandit played at her cousin's wedding last year. Everything perfect. Everything planned. Everything about to be destroyed. I spent the morning at my parents' house getting ready with my dad and my best man, Tommy. Mom was already at the church helping with flower arrangements. My sister was with Sarah's bridal party, probably crying happy tears and taking selfies. "You look like you're about to throw up," Tommy observed, adjusting my tie for the 3rd time. "Wedding nerves," Dad explained, even though his own hands were shaking. "I was the same way. Green around the gills until I saw your mother walking down that aisle. What if she doesn't show up?" I asked suddenly. Both men stared at me. What if Sarah changes her mind? Decides she's too good for me? Realizes she could do better? "Son," Dad said carefully, "where is this coming from?" How could I explain that I was hoping Sarah would save us both? That she'd wake up this morning and realize she deserved better than a man who'd been betraying her for months? That she'd call it off and spare us all the inevitable devastation? Just scared, I guess. "Sarah loves you," Tommy said firmly. "That girl would walk through fire for you. She's not going anywhere." That's what I was afraid of. My phone buzzed. Text from Jessica: "Break a leg today. Can't wait to celebrate with you and your new wife." Another buzz: "Sarah, I love you so much. See you at the altar. Can't wait to be your wife." I turned my phone off. We arrived at the church at 3:30. The rain had stopped, but the sky was still gray and threatening. Guests were filing in. Sarah's extended family, college friends, co-workers, neighbors. Everyone dressed up, everyone smiling, everyone excited to witness our perfect love story. I stood at the back of the church and watched them take their seats. Sarah's side filled up quickly. She had a big family, lots of friends, people who'd known her since childhood. My side looked sparse by comparison. Mom, Dad, my sister, a few college buddies, some co-workers. But they were all there. The people who mattered. The people who loved me despite my flaws, who'd supported me, who'd invested everything in my happiness. At 3:45, the wedding planner gave everyone final positions. I took my place at the altar next to Pastor Williams, the same man who'd baptized me 26 years ago. Tommy stood beside me, rings ready, speech prepared. The organist began the processional. Sarah's flower girls went first, her twin nieces, 4 years old, giggling and dropping petals everywhere. Then her bridesmaids, including my sister, all wearing dusty rose and carrying white roses. Then the music changed. "Here comes the bride." Everyone stood. Sarah appeared at the back of the church on her father's arm, and my heart stopped. She looked radiant. Her dress was simple but elegant, strapless, flowing, her grandmother's pearl necklace at her throat. Her hair was swept up with small white flowers tucked in. She was glowing with happiness, with love, with the promise of our future together. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And I was about to destroy her. Sarah walked down the aisle looking only at me. Her smile was pure joy. Her eyes were bright with tears. When she reached the altar, her father kissed her cheek and placed her hand in mine. "Take care of her," he whispered. "I will," I lied. Pastor Williams began the ceremony. The same words that had been spoken at thousands of weddings before ours. Sacred words about love, commitment, faithfulness, honor. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Sarah and Michael in holy matrimony." I looked out at the congregation. Everyone was smiling. Mom was already crying. Dad looked proud. My sister was beaming. Then I saw her. Jessica, 5th row back, wearing a navy blue dress that complemented her ocean eyes. She was smiling too, but it wasn't the same smile as everyone else's. Hers was knowing, possessive, triumphant. She'd won. Marriage is not to be entered into lightly. Pastor Williams continued, but reverently, advisedly, and in the fear of God. Fear of God. If only he knew. "Do you, Michael, take Sarah to be your lawfully wedded wife? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, for better or worse, forsaking all others, as long as you both shall live?" Forsaking all others. The church was silent. 200 people waiting for my answer. Sarah looking at me with absolute trust, absolute love. Her hand warm in mine. Her babies, our babies, growing inside her. "I do," I said. The light tasted like poison. "Do you, Sarah, take Michael to be your lawfully wedded husband? To have and to hold, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, For better or worse, forsaking all others, as long as you both shall live? I do, Sarah said without hesitation, her voice clear and strong and full of joy. The rings, please. Tommy handed over the bands. Simple gold circles. Sarah had wanted something fancier, with diamonds, but I'd convinced her to go traditional. Like your parents, I'd said. Like people who stay married forever. Another lie. I slipped the ring onto Sarah's finger. She slipped mine on. Her hands were steady. Mine were shaking. By the power vested in me by the state and by God, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride. I kissed my wife for the first time. Sarah melted into me, tears streaming down her face, happiness radiating from every part of her. The congregation erupted in applause. Rice flew through the air. Camera flashes went off. Everyone was cheering, laughing, celebrating. Everyone except me. We walked back down the aisle together, Sarah practically glowing with joy. She squeezed my hand at every step, whispering I love you over and over. Outside the church, more rice, more photos, more congratulations. You did it. Tommy slapped my back. You're a married man. How does it feel? Someone asked. Like the luckiest man alive, I answered automatically. The receiving line took forever. Dozens of people wanting to hug us, congratulate us, tell us how beautiful the ceremony was. Sarah's face hurt from smiling. Mine did too, but for different reasons. When Jessica reached us in line, she hugged Sarah first. You look absolutely gorgeous, she gushed. Like a princess in a fairy tale. Thank you so much for coming, Sarah replied. Michael's told me so much about working with you. All good things, I hope. Jessica winked at me over Sarah's shoulder. When she hugged me, she whispered in my ear, congratulations, husband. See you at the reception. The reception was everything Sarah had dreamed of. The country club looked perfect. White tablecloths, gold chargers, centerpieces of white roses and baby's breath. The band was already playing when we arrived. Our first dance was to At Last by Etta James. Sarah cried during our dance. Happy tears, she said. This is the best day of my life. Mine too, I whispered into her hair, wishing it were true. The evening blurred together. Dinner, speeches, cake cutting, more dancing. I played the role of happy groom perfectly. Laughed at the right moments, thanked people for coming, posed for endless photos. But I kept catching glimpses of Jessica throughout the night. She was everywhere, talking to my parents at cocktail hour, dancing with my cousins, chatting with Sarah's college friends, ingratiating herself into my new family like she belonged there. During the father-daughter dance, Jessica appeared at my elbow. Beautiful wedding, she said, sipping champagne. Sarah really outdid herself. What do you want? Just to congratulate you. And to let you know I've already booked us a hotel room for tomorrow night. Room 412 at the Marriott downtown. Sarah mentioned you two are waiting until next weekend for your honeymoon. I'm not meeting you anywhere. Yes, you are. Because tomorrow morning, your new wife is going to wake up as a married woman carrying twins. And you're going to do everything in your power to protect her happiness. Even if that means sacrificing your own. The song ended. Sarah walked back to me glowing, her father kissing her cheek. What were you two talking about? She asked sweetly. Work stuff, Jessica answered before I could. Congratulating your husband on the Morrison project. He's brilliant, you know. You're very lucky. I know, Sarah said, slipping her arm through mine. I tell him every day. At 11 p.m., Sarah and I made our grand exit. More rice, more cheering, more photos. We climbed into the decorated car, tin cans tied to the bumper, just married written on the back window. As we drove away, Sarah kicked off her heels and curled up against my shoulder. We did it, she whispered. We're married. Mr. and Mrs. Peterson. How does it feel? Perfect. Like everything in my whole life led to this moment. She looked up at me with those trusting brown eyes. I love you so much. Thank you for giving me the most beautiful wedding day. Thank you for marrying me. Thank you for asking. We spent our wedding night at the Four Seasons downtown. Sarah had booked the honeymoon suite, rose petals on the bed, champagne chilling, chocolate strawberries on silver trays. She disappeared into the bathroom to change into something special she'd bought for the occasion. I stood on the balcony looking out at the city lights, trying to figure out how my life had become such a disaster. My phone buzzed. Jessica, sweet dreams, Mr. Peterson. See you tomorrow. Sorry emerged from the bathroom wearing white silk that made her look like an angel. She was still glowing, still radiant with happiness. Hello, husband, she said shyly. Hello, wife. She walked over and wrapped her arms around my neck. I can't believe we're really married. I keep waiting to wake up from this dream. It's not a dream. No, she agreed, kissing me softly. It's real. We're real. Our babies are real. Our whole beautiful future is real. I held my wife close and looked out at the city where my mistress was sleeping, probably planning our next meeting. Tomorrow, Sarah would wake up as a married woman. Tomorrow, I would wake up as a man living a double life. Tomorrow, I would begin destroying everything I'd just promised to protect. But tonight, for just a few more hours, I could pretend to be the man Sarah thought she'd married. The next morning, I woke up before Sarah and checked my phone. 17 missed calls, all from my dad. Something was wrong. I called him back, stepping onto the balcony so I wouldn't wake Sarah. Dad? What's wrong? Why did you? Son. His voice was broken. We've been trying to reach you all night. What happened? It's your mother. The world tilted sideways. What about Mom? Heart attack. Massive one. Right after you left the reception last night, she collapsed in the parking lot of the country club. Is she? She's alive. Barely. ICU at St. Mary's Hospital. They don't know if she's going to make it through the day. My knees gave out. I sat down hard on the balcony floor. I'll be right there. Son, there's something else. Something the doctor said might have triggered it. What? Someone sent her photos last night. On her phone. During the reception. Pictures of you with some woman. Intimate pictures. The timestamps show they were taken during your engagement. My phone slipped from my hand and shattered on the balcony floor. Through the glass door, I could see Sarah stirring in bed, her hand moving to the empty space where I should have been, already reaching for her husband of 12 hours. The husband who had just killed his own mother with his betrayal.